What's up, beautiful people? I am Lulu the Guru, and if you have made it to my channel, that means you are on your destined path, your chosen path. You are going through a tremendous amount of spiritual growth and ascension, and you are trying to figure out what is going on. Are you alone? Does anybody else relate to you? And I am here for that. So what this video is going to be is a story time, and I want to tell you about how when I was going through one of my spiritual transformations, because I have been through multiple, okay? And I'm going through one right now. But anyways, through this particular spiritual ascension, and this was like literally right after I came into my spiritual awareness. I had just had my awakening a year prior. I received a channel message from my deceased sister. So let's get into it. Grab your favorite beverage, your coffee, your tea, your smoothie, or your water, whatever you choose, okay? Because we about to get into it. So this is what was going on during this time. So I had my spiritual awakening in the year of 2018. Now, the way I had my awakening, or how I came into it, usually, you know, we go through different events, usually traumatic events or aha moments that enlighten us and bring in that wisdom, right? Which is where that ascension comes in, that awakening, right? I was going through an extremely toxic relationship with a soulmate, okay? So with this particular person I was dating, I had left my toxic marriage, okay? And I had been married for 10 years, and I met my first soulmate, and I end up leaving that marriage, which was necessary to be with my soulmate. Now, with this particular relationship, it was extremely passionate, and it was so much I learned about myself and just along the way. And it was like a lot happening in my physical world, right? And technically in the internal world, but my focus at the time was my physical world. Because when I say I left everything behind. I had left my career, and this is all what I needed to do, okay? It was divinely guided and orchestrated. Anything that happens to us is really happening for us, because I was unhappy in my marriage. I was unhappy with my career. I was unhappy with still living in the same hometown where I grew up in. I was just across the board unhappy, and I felt like it has to be more to life than this. But I was still attached to a limiting belief, and I'm gonna hurry up and get to the topic, to a limiting belief that once I'm married, I'm never going to get remarried again. And even though I was going through a lot of turmoil with my ex-husband, I was attached to a limiting belief. So when I met my first soulmate, it kind of opened something back up that was already within me and allowed me to take a leap of faith. Okay, so boom, so ex-husband out the way, we in this new relationship with my first soulmate who I met. And if you don't know what a soulmate is, I don't have time to explain it. You can Google it, you can look on YouTube, look and ask your ancestors, ask God, it'll come to you, okay? But anywho, so basically it was a very, very passionate relationship. And when I was transitioning from my marriage to this new relationship, everything was good. So what ended up happening is that we got into business together, into trucking. He got me into trucking, and I started driving semi trucks. He had his own truck, his own company, and him and his sister had ran their business together. So I end up leaving my career to start over, to start something new. In trucking, you can make so much money, and I trusted him. We were so in love, yada yada yada, right? So I took this leap of faith. I left my hometown, and I got in a truck, and I initially started driving with him because he had his own company, and he brought me in as another driver. I was new, and he was trying to help me. Now I did go to school. I did go to school. I took a accelerated course for 8 weeks, and I passed that, yay. And then I got in the truck with him. But okay, you're not going to learn how to drive a truck in 8 weeks, like everything you need to know. You're going to know the bare minimum enough to get you out there operating that equipment, right? So we're driving, and boom, boom, everything's good. But what happened is that his business started to sink, and it had nothing to do with him. It was basically things in business, okay, that was literally out of his control, our control, right? But this is where it came in at. So I had this inner guidance, right? When all of that was happening and we had to separate, I ended up coming back home, and he was still trying to get his business going so it didn't fail. And something in me said that he was going back to his ex-girlfriend. Now, when you have a lot going on with your security, your foundation, your finances, you really don't have time. At least I didn't have time to be worried about that guidance, right? So I didn't pay it any mind. So anyway, I ended up getting back on track. I was able to get back into a company truck and get back out to the state where he was. And I know that had to be nothing but a miracle, okay? Nothing but God, nothing but the angels and ancestors, right? And I ended up taking my car back with me to be with him so he would have something to drive, right? So boom, I'm in a new truck. I'm not with him. He's on his own trying to make his business afloat and everything. Boom. So I started noticing changes within our connection. Like it was just totally different, right? And I'm talking about outside of business. To me, I feel like he's very money motivated and driven. And when I started learning more about spirits, angels, goals and life path, souls, purposes. And I started off trying to learn more about him. That was something that I picked up on. Like, I think that's one of the things that he's supposed to learn, not to choose money over love. But anyways, I kept getting all of these signs that he was cheating on me, that he was back with his ex. It was coming in dreams. I had a dream that he was having intercourse, and I'm choosing my choice of words, that he was having intercourse with his ex-girlfriend. And this was in a dream, right? And like in the dream, I was literally there, like looking through her ass, but it wasn't me, it was her. And like we were engaged in intercourse. So that was one thing. Another thing was going to be his actions. He was very moody. He was always accusing me of cheating. He was just crazy when it came to money and things that he was just saying. And it was like triggering my energy, and my mental health just started going downhill on a downward spiral, right? And I just kept having this intuitive guidance that he is cheating on me or whatever. Now, I didn't have a lot of people to confide in because I was in a new part of my life. I had cut a lot of people off, and I was in trucking. I was over the road. I was not a dedicated driver, which means you go home every night. I'm talking about I was gone different states. I'll be in one state one day, the next day I'm 5, 6, 7 states away. Okay, that's what I was doing. And I felt alone. I was alone in my semi truck. Like, I really didn't have anyone. So I would talk to my mom. And at the time, I don't think I was talking to my brother. He was going, because we were very close, and he was on his own journey. So it literally was just me and my thoughts. Okay. And that actually is solitude. That's actually what I needed, right? So boom, I just remember being the old version of myself. I used to be like, if I find out that he is cheating on me, okay, I can't use a choice of words, but I was going to commit a crime. Okay. That's what I used to always say. And I used to tell him that if I found out that you are dealing with your ex, we gonna have some problems. Okay. I'm going to do some things to you and to her. She's just going to be a casualty of war, is what I used to tell him. And he did not like it, but I stood on that, and I meant it, because I was like, I'm tired of men breaking my heart and doing me wrong, and I put 150% into these relationships, and this is what I have to show for it. And then we go into these relationships knowing what I've been through, because I was like an open book. I would tell you what I've been through, and basically how I've been hurt. And then for you to turn around to do the exact same thing, I took it personally, like seriously. But anyways, so it was coming in dreams, and I just remember he was lying. Like, he would do things like, okay, besides accusing me of cheating or whatever, and it was coming to me in dreams. I remember he would like start arguments and then like avoid me. Like, he ended up not spending time with me. He would always have an excuse about why we couldn't meet up in whatever state, and it was always about money and always about business. And then he didn't want me going back to one state. Now, there's one particular state, I'm not going to say it, but it was a state that we would meet up in, and this is where we would park the vehicles. So if we needed to just get a room, relax, go see family, because we had family. Well, mainly he had family in this area. We kicked back and we could relax and see each other. That was our thing. And then suddenly he's like, anytime I would say I was taking off, he would get mad. No, you need to work. You need to go to work or whatever. You got that new truck or whatever. You need to make sure that you get that money for the truck. No, you don't need to take off, blah, blah, blah. Now, I was venting to my mother, and I had like 2 or 3 male friends that I vented to, and they all were saying the same thing, that he's cheating on you. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to believe it. I had expectations. The relationship was so passionate before. And even though I was seeing all of these signs, I just did not want to hear that. Okay. So I remember my mom telling me, and she was just, she stood on it. She was just like, I promise you. And she wasn't saying it to hurt me. It was through love. She was like, I promise you that he doesn't want you in Maryland because he has another woman in Maryland. And that's what she told me. Now I'm gonna go ahead I fussed him out so much about us not spending time together. He ended up meeting me in Chicago, Illinois. That's when I was a company driver, and we did spend time together. Let me tell you what had happened when we was there, right? So, and this is how spirit send you signs. So basically, when we was in Chicago, we went to get something to eat. He stayed with me in Chicago for about 2 days. It might have been 3, but I think it was 2. And we went to get something to eat. This is when he was getting ready to get in his truck and go back on the road. And his phone was face up. And I knew his ex-girlfriend, not her complete number. I knew some digits, some numbers of it, because I was really like, when I was that old version of myself, I had a lot of unhealthy habits. So I would be Googling. I went on Facebook. I knew who she was. I didn't know a whole lot about her, but I knew like enough information, you know, not enough to where I could just go find her, but I knew enough information. So I knew her numbers, all except for like the last 3 digits, right? And I'm talking, I was down in it. I was willing to pay a private investigator to get information I needed, because it's like I wanted physical truth, not what somebody was telling me what they believe. Even the signs that spirit and God and the angel was sending me, it just wasn't enough for me. It's like I needed it. I needed him to tell me. 11:11. But anyway, so what ended up happening is that his phone was face up. We was in this restaurant and I seen the numbers, and he hurried up, put his hand and slid the phone off the table, right? And he put it down. He kept talking like that was normal. So this point, you know what I mean? I'm basically playing along with it. Like I didn't just see what happened, even though I did see what happened inside of me. I was going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Your girl was going crazy on the inside, but I would just make sure I was very calm on the outside because I didn't want him to get triggered, right? He gets up from the table after he finished talking to me. He goes to the bathroom. You know, your girl not stupid. I knew he was going in that bathroom to make a phone call to that phone number who I seen that it was his girlfriend, because when he was in the bathroom, I pulled out my notes that was in my phone when I found out about people, if they cheating on me and little things that they be doing. I keep track of it. I keep notes. And very unhealthy. I hate having to do that, but I did it in my marriage because my ex-husband was cheating on me all the time. Okay, but anywho, that's a whole different story. But anyways, what happened is that I looked at the numbers and I had memorized the numbers that popped up on his phone, and every number matched. And so I didn't know the last 3 or 4, but that was enough for me. Come on now, we gonna call a thing a thing. Obviously, I'm not slow. Even if I wanted to refuse it, it's right in my face. So when he comes out, I am like, and seeing this information that I looked up that he didn't know I looked up, I was like furious, right? So we leave the restaurant because I didn't want to cause a scene in the restaurant. We leave the restaurant. I'm talking to him. I said, "Who was that on the phone? You got on the phone? Call. Who was that to call you?" He tried to lie. I said, "You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. I know you're lying." And I just remember him saying, okay, it was his ex-girlfriend. So that just said it was right. I said, why is she still calling you? Why is she still calling you? Or whatever. And he was just like, because we still have some business together, like finances. Like my motorcycle is still on the insurance. I'm like, why? And I used to fuss her, but that was another sign right there. So he had a motorcycle and she had her own townhome, and they used to live together. So being that he didn't have his own place, we both lived out of the semi truck over the road. He was over the road too, right? So I'm thinking he living like how I'm living, and his motorcycle was still parked at her house, at her townhouse. And I used to fuss about it, like, why is it still there? It's like you're trying to make up excuses to still see her, but he just said he couldn't afford the storage unit, which was still, you know, now that I know how much money you can make in trucking, like, but back then I was still new to it, so I just kind of ate it up. And he was like, he couldn't afford it, he had business expenses, so he tried to save money. She said it was okay for him to leave his bike there, so that's what he did, right? So I'm just going along with it, but it just wasn't making dollars, and it definitely wasn't making sense. So with the insurance, I say, so why would you not just answer the phone at the table so we could just talk? Like, you had it, you went straight to the bathroom and you called her. And he was just like, because he was afraid how I was going to react. That's another sign, dudes do that, or even females too, that I was afraid of how you were going to react. Okay, I'm still going to react either way. The truth is going to come out. But anyways, let's get back to it. So boom, so that was another sign, right? We got the dreams, him accusing me of cheating, okay? Then want me talking to no other dudes, and then broken promises. He always talked about we gonna team drive together again. That was the whole purpose of me getting my own truck. I mean, it was that was part of the reason or whatever, but we never team drove. He stayed in his own truck and I stayed in my own truck, you know what I mean? And then it was like everything started to like be separate. And I wanted to get married. He didn't want to get married. He had excuses for why he didn't want to get married, or, you know, he was talking about he wanted to get his money right, his businesses right. And that's legitimate, I guess. But for me, it was like an excuse. So anyways, what ended up happening is that, excuse the noise in the background. But anyways, so what ended up happening is that, boom, so we got all these signs. And I just remember, okay, 2018, I had my spiritual awakening. And this is how I had my awakening in that Nancy relationship. I used to get into it with my ex all the time. We would fuss and we would fight. And I was always threatening to do a crime to him that I knew would have had me in prison for life, okay? And I used to be so angry. And like I said, it was taking a toll on my mental health. So one day we was in his semi truck. And I'm not telling y'all everything because it can be so long. And I don't want to make this story time too long. But anyways, I was in his truck, I believe, and we was at the truck stop in the state where we be meeting up at, and I was laying his tail out. I mean, I was like, I know you cheating on me. I know you still talking to your exes or whatever. Just tell me the truth. I'm so tired of this or whatever. I done made all these changes and all these sacrifices for our relationship. I took a leap of faith. I left my ex marriage, even though that was necessary, to be with you, and you're doing the same thing. And this is what happened. He ended up like, he was sitting on the bed in the truck in the back, in the cab. And he looked like an old man. Like, I was fussing. I could just see his soul out of nowhere. I could see he like an old man, slouched over, like he was just tired, like he was about to drop dead. That's how he looked. And when I seen that, I was like, you know, what's going on? And then something in me just had me sit down next to him. And I took a deep breath and I apologized, right? And I said, I'm going to change. That's what I said. I don't know what baby said, and that's what I said. And what ended up happening is that I was trying to figure him out. So I was very much into astrology, and what ended up happening is I started getting afraid going out to Colorado, like far out to the west. And I started going to Colorado, you know, going in those mountains. And at the time I started learning astrology as far as like, you know, his zodiac. I was trying to learn as much as I could about him. And it was a YouTuber, and I forgot her name. It's Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Moon. I don't follow her now. That was like, everything is meant for a season. But her channel was teaching me everything about Scorpios. Okay, everything. Because she's a Scorpio. She's telling you everything you need to know about Scorpios or whatever. So because my first soulmate, that's what he was. So I started listening to it or whatever. And I started saying, okay, because at the moment I was in the belief of I'm going to try to please him. That's also an unhealthy habit I had, a people pleaser. So one of the first things that I did was I apologized to him for everything I did. Even if I felt like I was right, I apologized to him, and things started to get better. And then through her, I started seeing numbers everywhere. I was seeing 555, 222, 111, and 444. Those were the numbers I constantly kept seeing, and I couldn't figure out why. I kept seeing it on my odometer. I kept seeing it on the radio, on my phone, on the time, on billboards. I kept saying, why do I keep seeing this freaking number? And I had no idea why. So one day I was watching her channel, and she was talking about numerology, and she explained what it was. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So as you see, that was my awakening, and I'm starting, all this knowledge and awareness starts coming in. So in the midst of that, I continue to study, and things are still happening with me and my ex, but I'm handling it different. Now I'm going into depression mode because I know that he's cheating on me, and the signs are there, and I don't want it to be true. And then he started talking to me about a poly relationship, and I couldn't figure out, I'm like, if you're not cheating on me, and if you're not talking to your exes, why do you want to do poly? He just kept bringing it up, and I just kept saying no. You know, I wasn't interested. And I said, if that's something he wanted to do, then he could just go do it on his own. But he would literally get mad and say, no, that's not what he wanted to do. Then I started meeting people, like men that were polyamorous, like they was into poly, you know, or polygyny, better yet. I'm not sure which one they practice, so I'm just going to say poly. I met about 2 to 3 different men who were poly. And then one day I was coming from California, and I met a guy in Arizona, and he was poly. I had talked to him on the phone for 5 hours because I was trying to pick his brain. He thought I was going to be one of his women, but that wasn't happening. I wanted to get a better understanding. Now, at this time, when I was going through these shifts, this transformation I was very depressed. I felt like I was losing in life. I had took this big leap of faith to be with this person, and it wasn't working out in my favor, and it was taking a toll on my mental health and my physical health. And I knew it was becoming unsafe for me to operate a semi truck. Okay. Those big 18 wheelers with the 53-foot trailers. Okay. You don't want to be in any type of negative or depressive mental state, aggravation, agitation when you're operating equipment that big. It is very much so unsafe, but I pushed through it or whatever. So stayed aware. I had to keep my business going. Anyways, my older sister, we had a very, very close relationship, and I used to talk to her mentally in my semi truck, right? And I used to always say I miss her so much, and I used to listen to this song that was what she was going to audition with at It's Showtime at the Apollo, but she passed away. She died in 2007. She didn't even make it to her 32nd birthday. She was 31 years old. She had 2 children. My niece and nephew was 2 and 3 at the time, and I want to say she was newly married to my brother-in-law. They might have only been married about 3 years. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure, but I knew they were still fresh with it. But anyways, beautiful couple, and we had a really, really close relationship, and I hadn't completely healed. She had been deceased by this time for about 10 years or so, about 10, 11 years, and I still was grieving her death. Like she was the person I could go to, right? So I just remember my chest, I'm feeling the energy, right? So I just remember driving back from California and being so sad and so depressed. I knew that my ex was cheating on me. I had all these signs. I didn't want it to be. And I was so hurt because I really, really cared about him. I was very much so in love with him. Like he was my soulmate. It was very passionate. And it was just so much that was happening. And I still had to deal with the real world at the same time. I felt so lost. I felt beat down. Like anything, name it. Like I was so depressed. Not suicidal depressed, but definitely probably a step or two ahead of that. So anyways, I just remember this voice that came to me and said, look at a tarot reading. Now at the time, I had learned about tarot readers on YouTube and being able to do the pick of cards. That was something my soul guided me to. And I was looking at colors. You know, they use colors, they use objects to choose piles. And so at the time, I was strong enough to do the colors, right? The objects wasn't my thing, it was colors. So I end up pulling up my YouTube, and I didn't even know what I was supposed to be searching for, and I don't remember what I searched for, but I pulled up these readings, and what ended up happening is that it was one that the inner guidance said, click on that reading and choose this pile. And the color stood out to me like it was so bright. I don't remember which pile it was, if it was 1, 2, 3, or 4, but I chose the pile, and my intuition said, listen to this pile. And that's what I did. Now, I want to say the reading was about 30 minutes long, right? So I'm listening to it. Keep in mind, I'm literally drifting. I'm on cruise control. I'm coming back from California. I done drove through Arizona, and I'm just driving. I'm hopping the mountains or whatever. And at this time, also my health had changed because I did start eating differently. So I was becoming more enlightened. I was studying Dr. Sebi and his alkaline plant-based lifestyle. So I was doing that as well, and I feel like that had a huge impact on me receiving all of these downloads or whatever. So the truth be hurting, but you gotta face it. So anyways, in this reading, y'all, it was basically a message from your deceased loved one, and the reader or whatever, it was like I heard her voice, but I didn't hear her voice. And when she was talking about and giving description of your loved one, she was saying they died at a young age. They died suddenly and unexpectedly. And that's exactly what happened with my sister. She died at a very young age. And if I get emotional, just stay with me, y'all, because I love my sister. But anyway, she died at a young age, and it was unexpectedly an illness she didn't know she had. We didn't know that she had, and she went into the hospital on July 2nd, and she died July 3rd, right before July 4th holiday, 4th of July, which I had talked to her on July 1st and July 2nd. So anyways, it was talking about that, and then it was saying that, like, the reader that channeled the message from my deceased sister said that the family was upset about her death, and that the doctors, that they didn't do everything that they could. And then the reader was like saying that yes, they did. This was always destined for your loved one to pass away at that age. They had a higher calling, and they had accepted that calling, and they didn't want to leave you behind, and that they love you. Then she went on to explain, and this is where the voice suddenly turned into my sister. Like, I'm hearing my sister, and I'm thinking I'm crazy at first. I'm like, am I going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? So it's like the voice turned into my sister's voice. At least that's what I started to project. And then I literally heard my sister, and basically the message was saying that I'm in the spirit realm, and I still have work that I'm doing. I'm learning and growing just like you are. I'm with you all the time. Anytime that you think about me or you speak of me, I can be there with you. I'm there with you. I'm in more than one place at one time. So I'm there with mom and anyone else, you know. And in the spirit realm, you have assignments and things. You still growing, you know, but you can be in more than one place at once. It's a different dimension, a different frequency, and you much more stronger or whatever. And it was a lot of things that really matched my sister. And then I remember her saying that she's heard my cries, she's seen my cries, and that she's always with me, and she hugs me when I cry. Now that right there pulled on my heart, because when she said that, she said she hugs me when I cry. Now, the reason why that stood out to me is because the song that I used to listen to every time I thought about my sister, which is the one, like I said, it was by Xscape, Run to the Arms of the One Who Loves You. I think that's Run to the Arms. I look it up, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was by Xscape, and that was in the song I Hug You When You Cry. One of those verses, like, I hug you when you cry. And I could feel that. And it's funny because I had made a Facebook post like a couple of days prior to this reading that I got from my sister, that my sister hugs me when I cry, because I could feel it. And it was a Facebook post. And I remember when it came up in the reading, I went to go find that Facebook post. It was like, you know, I had to scroll, and I seen that my sister hugs me when I cry. And like all this love and energy just came through me. So in the message, she basically said that spirits can't see people in the flesh and what they're doing. They can only see people in the spirit. They only see their spirit. And she said, if someone is doing something that is hurting me or making me feel bad, that I need to trust that. Okay. Then she said that I need to trust my intuition. Everything that I have been seeing, even if I don't like it, it is the truth. It is being revealed to me. Okay. That is being sent to me. Then she said that she did not like the person I was dating, whoever I was in a relationship. This came through in the reading, that she did not like that person, that they were lying to me and that they was using me. Okay. So that was part of the reading. It was more stuff. I can't remember it completely. I know it's gonna come to me, but that stood out to me. She hugged me when I cried. The details of her death was all there. She loves me. She can be in more than one place at once, and she's always there, and she sends me signs. She didn't like the person I was dealing with, and I could really feel that, because when it came through in that channel message through that tarot readers reading, I felt that and then during the reading I was seeing angelic numbers too. That's another thing, but I was so focused on the reading that I didn't give much attention to that. Boom. So after I got that reading, I tell you, I was down and I was depressed. After I finished that reading, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulder. Okay. And what ended up happening is that after I got that reading, I felt so enlightened and I went into action mode, right? So I just remember I was still going through it with my ex. He was still cheating on me and stuff like that or whatever. And one day I said, I'm going to park this truck and I'm not going back to work. I don't care if my business failed until I know the truth. And I got up one morning and my body felt so heavy, and I went to Love's truck stop. I forgot what state I was in, because I done been in so many states, y'all. And my mom was like, what's wrong, baby girl? And she could just tell my soul was just drained, y'all. I was so tired. It was so bad. And I'm not even telling y'all everything that happened in this relationship, but I was so drained mentally, physically, emotionally, not really spiritually, because I was learning. And I said, Mama, I can't do this no more. I got to find out the truth. And so when I got back to my truck, after I took a shower or whatever, Spirit came to me and said, if you want the truth, this is what you need to do. And I was like, what do I have to do? I said, I want him to tell me he's cheating on me, because all the signs was there, but it wasn't enough. Even I looked at the YouTube video, signs that your man cheating on you, and the person gave me 10 signs, and every sign he checked off. Still wasn't good enough. So Spirit told me, it was like that you're going to need to call him, but call him on FaceTime, and do not cry, do not show any emotions, and you're going to have to ask him the truth. Now, prior to this, the night before, I had a dream again about him and his ex-girlfriend, that he was talking to her on the telephone and they were sending text messages. What you think you doing in the dark is always seen. Remember that, y'all. Okay. God, the universe, angels, our ancestors, sees we spirit, they see what we don't see. But anyways, what ended up happening is so I ended up leaving the truck stop, and I drove about 45 minutes, if that, to a rest area, and I parked my truck, rolled the window down, and I called him on FaceTime, and I had a general conversation with him, like, so I could raise his energy thing. Everything was good, and I had on my poker face. And then I don't remember specifically how I got into it, but I ended up leading and shifting the conversation toward what I wanted to know. And I told him I had a dream about him talking to his ex-girlfriend on the phone. And this one, and this is how I also knew he would lie. He would pop like 5 or 6, 7 pieces of chewing gum in his mouth anytime my ex-boyfriend was nervous and he was finna lie, okay, or he knew he was gonna lie, whatever. He would just start popping a bunch of pieces of gum in his goddamn mouth, right? So anyways, he started doing that, and I waited, and I told you I had my heart was beating so fast, but I didn't let it show. I had a poker face. And so finally he came out and he told me, he didn't want me to be mad. I said, I'm not gonna be mad. And then he told me, yes, he was still talking to his ex-girlfriend. And I said, okay, that's what's up. And I was like, well, how long y'all start talking? How did it happen? And then he said, well, we never stopped talking. We were always talking. And then he goes into the spiel. This is what people do, how they try to gaslight you, right? Because he started trying to gaslight me and flip it. He was just saying, like, he tired, he don't want to lie no more. And I could tell he was definitely tired, because I was on his tail. Because I knew he was lying. But anyways, in that conversation, he was like, he was just tired. He couldn't do it no more. He was just trying to be there. You know what I'm saying? and with the business. He said if it weren't for her, I would have never got my semi truck. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, that the money he gave me, because I had to put down a down payment, I did a portion, he did a portion, or whatever. And he had been lying, because he told me that money had came from his business, like his sister, but he was full of lies anyway. It came from his ex-girlfriend, right? So, and that's another story about that money, how he harassed me for that money. Like, he didn't even let your girl get her feet wet in business or whatever before we want that money back that apparently he got from her and never paid her back. But anyways, he was saying all this stuff, and now it made sense why he wanted to do poly, because he didn't want to choose, and that's what he said. He didn't feel like he needed to choose, blah blah blah. And I said, oh, okay, so that's what you want. He was like, yeah, I'm not choosing. If you want to leave, then you can leave. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I was like, okay. I stayed cool, calm, and I was enraged, like the old version of me. We talking about waiting to exhale, let me take a sip. But I had evolved so much. I really just wanted the truth, and I got it. I finally got it, that all those signs that Spirit gave me, all those synchronicities that I was coming across, it was all true. What my mom said, what my homeboy said, it was all true. So what ended up happening is, because this is going into another story time, because this supposed to have been about how I got the message from my deceased sister. My sister was there all the time. She was sending me numbers when he was like talking bad to me on the phone, and I muted it to let him get his words out. I had started crying, and I seen 555, and it started flashing. My phone went flash, 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 flash. I don't know how a phone could do that, because the screen was black and it was strong. I felt it vibrate, and I seen 555, and then I ended up looking those numbers up, and it was like that you're safe, you're blessed, and you're loved. I knew that was my sister. Okay, I could feel her love. So anyways, I'm gonna cut it short there. I don't want to get too far into this. The truth came out. He was lying. And I did stay with him. We ended up doing a poly relationship. I will do another story time on that. And the reason why I stayed with him was because I knew I was still in love with him, and I didn't have enough or whatever. And if I would have left, I would have went back. So I would do another story time on that. But yes, I was going through it. I was going through a spiritual ascension, karmic lessons, and a lot of transformations in my career and in my love life. And the signs was there in front of my face. And then finally I got a reading from a tarot reader who did a channel message from the deceased, and then the deceased actually was my sister. It did resonate with my soul. I believe in it. It resonated. And my sister talked to me, you know what I mean? And after that, after I had that done, right, I was healed. When I learned that my sister was good, that she didn't feel no pain, that she wasn't upset, that it was her calling, and she was meant to be doing what she was doing. And she said she's not only helping me, she's helping other people in the world too. She's a spirit guide and an angel for a lot of other people in the world. And she said she had children with her too, like I guess babies that had passed away. And she said our childhood animals that had died, she was there with them too. It was so heavenly. I felt so healed and relieved. It was a beautiful experience. I'm going to cherish it and remember it for the rest of my life. I will never forget. So if this video has found you, boom boom, congratulations, you are one of the chosen ones. You're on your path to becoming closer with your higher self, to your calling. And if you resonate with this, keep going. You're not alone. We got this. We are the generational curse breakers, and I love you. Until next time, bye.